Narimanov Nariman Karbalayi Najaf oglu was an Azerbaijani Bolshevik revolutionary, writer, publicist, politician, and statesman. For just over 1 year beginning in May 1920, Narimanov headed the government of Soviet Azerbaijan. He was subsequently elected chairman of the Union Council of the Transcaucasian SFSR. He was also party chairman of the Central Executive Committee of the Soviet Union from December 30, 1922, until the day of his death. In the realm of literature, Narimanov translated into Turkish Nikolai Gogol's The Government Inspector and wrote a large number of plays, stories, and novels, such as Bahada and Sona. He was also the author of the historical trilogy Nadir Shah, one of the central districts and one of the busiest subway station in Baku, a number of streets, parks and halls all over Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan Medical University are named after him. In the Lankaran region there is a town named Narimanabad in his honor. There are cities named after him also in other post-Soviet states, mainly in Russia. Biography. Early years. Nariman Narimanov was born on April 14, 1870 in Tiflis, Georgia, then part of the Russian Empire, into an ethnic Azerbaijani family. The Narimanov family were middle-class merchants and were able to send the son to the Gori Teachers Seminary, from which he graduated. He went on to attend medical school at Odessa University, graduating in 1908. As a young man, Narimanov gained notice as a writer in Azerbaijan even before the revolution of 1905 to 1907, publishing novels which advocated the abandonment of tired customs and religious superstitions. He simultaneously taught school in the Gizil-Agil, Tiflis province, where he became closely acquainted with the hard life of the local peasantry. Narimanov was one of the first activists of young Turkish literature. He translated into Turkish Gogol's Inspector and wrote a large number of plays, stories, and novels, the most well-known among them of the novel Bahada and Sona and an historical trilogy Nadir Shah. In 1902, at the age of 32, Narimanov entered the medical department of Novorossiysk University, from which he graduated in 1908. During the 1905 revolution, Narimanov joined the Bolshevik Party, took an active part and led the student movement in Odessa. He subsequently became one of the organizers of the Persian Socialist Democratic Party Ashayan. For these activities, Narimanov was arrested in 1909 and sentenced to 5 years of internal exile in Astrakhan. Political career. After the October Revolution of 1917, Nariman Narimanov became the chairman of Azerbaijani Social Democratic Political Party He, forerunner of the Communist Party of Azerbaijan. He did not run for election on the He slate, however, and was thus not a member of the Baku Soviet during the brief reign of the Baku Commune of 1918. He was appointed People's Commissar of National Economy by the Baku Soviet. However, following the fall of the Baku Soviet, Narimanov managed to escape the city to Astrakhan, thereby avoiding the grim fate of the 26 Baku Commissars. He was there appointed chief of the Near East Division of the People's Commissariat of Foreign Affairs of Soviet Russia, later moving to a position as Deputy People's Commissar in the Commissariat of National Affairs. Narimanov was an advocate of national autonomy within a federated Soviet structure and is widely viewed as being instrumental in the July 1919 decision of the Politburo to recognize Azerbaijan as an independent Soviet republic. In 1920, Narimanov was appointed the chairman of Azerbaijani Revolutionary Committee and, shortly thereafter, the chairman of the Council of People's Commissars of the Azerbaijani Soviet Republic. In April and May 1922, took part in Genoese Conference as a member of the Soviet delegation. In 1922, was elected the chairman of the Union Council of Transcaucasian Federation. On December 30, 1922, the first session of the Central Executive Committee of the USSR elected Narimanov as one of the 4 chairpersons of the Central Executive Committee of the USSR. In April 1923, Narimanov was elected a candidate to the members of Central Committee of RKP. The charismatic moderate nationalist clashed with Joseph Stalin's close associate Sergei Ordzhonikidze, who led the Communist Party in Transcaucasia. As a result of this conflict, Ordzhonikidze had Narimanov transferred to posts in Moscow to remove him from the scene of action in the Caucasus region. Death and legacy. Narimanov died in bed of a heart attack on March 19, 1925. He was 54 years old at the time of his death. His remains were cremated and his ashes buried in Kremlin Wall necropolis. Leon Trotsky called his death as the second biggest loss for the Eastern world after Lenin. Sergei Ordzhonikidze described Narimanov as the greatest representative of our party in the East. During the Azovshchina of the late 1930s, Narimanov was posthumously denounced along with all other members of Hamad for their alleged nationalism. This action was reversed following the liberalization which followed the death of Joseph Stalin in 1953, and Narimanov was again celebrated as a leading figure in the history of Azerbaijani communism. Though in 1959, official CCCPSU policy was still to downplay Narimanov's role and stress that of showman within the Azerbaijani context. It was only in 1972 that he was fully rehabilitated within his homeland. Narimanov was survived by his wife Gulsum and by his son Najaf, who joined the Red Army in 1938 and graduated from the Kiev Higher Military Radio Technical Engineering School in 1940. He became a member of the Communist Party in 1942. During the Great Patriotic War, he was a commander of a tank division and took part in the Battle of Stalingrad and the Battle of the Dnieper before being killed in action near Volnovakha in Ukraine. After his death, many streets, centers were named after Narimanov. Azerbaijan, monuments in Baku, Ganja and Sumgait, cinema, metro station, schools, Ryan village streets in Baku, also in Imashli and Ganja, Azerbaijan Medical University, Central Park, as well as villages of Narimanli in Shamkir in Jeranboy and Narimankend in Bilasuvar, Gobustan, Gedibi and Sabirabad regions of Azerbaijan. Nariman Narimanov Stadium, Belarus, a village in the village hall of Alexichskom Koiniki district, Gomel region, Georgia, a street, a museum in Tbilisi, culture center, school, monument and street in Marnuli, Kazakhstan, Kostanay Airport, Russia, Narimanov, Astrakhan Oblast, a Kuta in Leninskoy rural settlement of Zimovnikovsky district of Rostov Oblast, a settlement in Nolatsky district of the Republic of Tatarstan, a village in Narimanovsky rural okrug of Tymensky district of Tyman Oblast, Ryan in Bashkortostan Avenue and the area in Ulyanovsk, culture center in Shatura, streets in Volgograd, Chernyanka Belgorod regions, Kostroma and Moscow, street near railway of Voronezh. Narimanov's name once given to Moscow Institute of Oriental Studies, Turkmenistan, a street in Bayramali, Ukraine, an alleyway in Odessa, a street in Kharkiv village in Kirovogradsky Oblast, Uzbekistan, a city Payak was once called as Narimanovka, a city in Tarskhan Oblast, Senatorium.